Hey everyone, welcome back to Lady Empire. I have such a phenomenal guest here with me today. Andria, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure.
So, I first just want to start off with you telling us a little bit about your childhood and your upbringing, and if this sort of affected your career path at all.
I was born in London, and my parents moved to the UK. I think I'd say in about my mum came when she was in the early 60s, I think, and my dad came when he was in around 30 years old. So they're both migrants. One's from Cyprus, one's from Greece. They met in my local church. They fell in love and they got married. And since then, I've been raised in a very kind of typical Greek, loud, warm, fiery household. Then my big fat Greek wedding is, I think, based on my life. That story is completely my life. So yeah, I mean, it's my profession, as you know. I'm a teacher, and I'd say that I wanted to be a teacher ever since I was a teeny tiny tot. My first kind of recollection of playing games with others, being it my toys or my siblings, was playing teacher, and I would be taking the roll call in red pen, of course. So no, I think it was a matter of when I was going to be a teacher, not if.
That's amazing. And so I want to talk about your main award that you have recently won. In 2018, you won the Global Teacher Prize, which is basically the best teacher in the world. That is what this award sort of entails. So tell us about the awards ceremony in Dubai and how you felt accepting this award.
Well, it still feels like a mirage. It feels like a dream. I mean, if you can imagine my world and my life where I teach, it's in a very rundown part of London. It's an inner city area. We've got the highest COVID rates there. It's very, very deprived and multicultural. Lovely, lovely place, but it's got so many challenges. And then the award ceremony was in Dubai, and it was in the Palm Atlantis, and I was wearing a ball gown. There was gold and glitter everywhere, and I never felt so intimidated and terrified in my entire life. And thankfully, in my heart of hearts, I was like, well, there's no way they're going to vote for me. There's no way I've won. There's no way an art teacher from a London school would ever win this. So I'm just going to relax and have fun until my name was called out. And then it just went a bit bonkers from there.
And I watched clips of you receiving this award and giving your speech, and you just looked absolutely stunning. So it was amazing to watch and to hear your speech accepting that amazing award.
Oh no, it was such a it was well, the first part of it was I didn't, I couldn't remember if I brought it with me in my bag, my piece of paper. So I had a tiny little clutch purse, and I was like, did I put it in there or did I stuff it in my bra? I couldn't remember where I put my speech. So now I felt like, oh my God, if it's in my bra, how am I going to do this? How am I going to remove it tastefully? Anyway, so thankfully it was in my bag, people. I had it in my bag. And yeah, I mean, it was the most bizarre moment. I didn't realize I won. I think my name was called out, but I was still, like just completely starstruck, because in front of me there was ministers, there was celebrities in the audience. I was just looking at them going, wow. And then somebody came up to me and said to me, "It's you, Andrea, you won." Yeah, and then I did my speech. My speech was hilarious, because I just thought, how am I going to do this? I felt like it was in Wembley Stadium, like the biggest stadiums, like, thousands of people in front of me. So I just imagined that I was doing an assembly, typical school assembly, when you talk to the students in front of you. And I think that got me through it.
That's a great way to look at it. I love that. So you won $1 million in prize money when you accepted this award. So tell us about what you mainly spent this money on.
Yeah, so I mean, very odd having that title, world's best teacher, and even worse is having this huge amount of money, which you know, it's kind of a burden, because I do feel passionately that schools are communities, and they, you know, everyone works together to make it happen. And so I did have this pressure, but I kind of in my hearts of hearts knew what I wanted to do, and that's to create an organisation, a not-for-profit, which helps to connect young people in deprived communities with artists. So the artists and the young people, they'll collaborate, they'll produce projects, because I think people underestimate the value and the powerful language that the arts can bring, especially in education. And I knew from experience that my young people in my school and weren't taking up the arts because they thought there was no jobs at the end of it and they weren't valued. And so I wanted to kind of put the role models in front of them. And that's what I did. And it was so successful. And now with my organisation, which we call Artists in Residence, that's exactly what we do. We bring artists and we create opportunities for schools to work with professional artists, and it's just incredible. We've had the best feedback ever, and I'm really proud of what we've achieved so far.
That's phenomenal. Congratulations on creating
Thank
this.
you.
Yes. So I want to talk a little bit more about the arts. You are the main teacher in the subject of arts and textiles. So why do you think it's so important for students to take these types of classes? What benefits does it provide for these students?
I think now more than ever, I've noticed how, especially with the pandemic, how young people are trying to find creativity somewhere. They're trying to find it, whether it's from an instrument, or it's from an iPad, or it's through coding. You know, there is a wanting to be creative, there's a wanting to explore making of some sort. Now, and I think one of the most powerful things which the arts does in a young human being is that, first of all, it helps communicate who you are. By producing a piece of artwork, you're talking about your identity, it's your individualism that's coming out on that canvas or that product, whatever you're making. And it's a language which is inclusive. Everyone can do this, everyone can hear it, everyone can see it. And that's what I think is really important. But I think for me, the most important thing about the arts is not the end product, it's the journey which you will go on to making that product. So it's the decisions you're going to have to make, it's the mistakes you're going to have to make, it's how you're going to collaborate with somebody else, or how you're going to get other people to buy in. So it's really about the journey of decision making, of mastery, of failing, of getting back on track, of celebrating, going through all those emotions. That's what the arts bring, and they're powerful, absolutely powerful, and it's what every young person really needs now more than ever, I feel.
So a main issue that we've experienced in the United States is we're seeing these types of subjects of arts and music being cut from school programs. Tell us a little bit about if you're seeing that in your area and how we can get these schools to stop cutting these arts programs from the curriculum.
I mean, Elle, it breaks my heart, and it makes me so aggressively angry when I hear things like this, because it's not just the US. Unfortunately, it is happening everywhere in the world. Now, and there's an ice cream van just popping about by my window, so I apologize for the harmony, or actually it could be contributing to our conversation now, you know. But what is happening? What is happening is that we have got very narrow-minded politicians, perhaps, who can't see the benefits or do not want to see the benefits. And you know, I've never seen or heard of an artist who would like to be an accountant. I've never heard that, but I have heard of accountants. I heard of scientists who are embracing their creativity to get them through their jobs. So the problem, I think, with the arts is that sometimes it takes, people can't see the impact on that young person. Sometimes in this case, you know, to get to the answer of what 2 and 2 is, it takes a long time to get there. But we can't knock it. And the reason why we can't knock it is that if we're thinking about what the jobs are of the future, I have not seen a CV that does not say we want creative individuals. We want individuals who can communicate, who can collaborate with team, who are hardworking team workers. This is what happens. These are what the skills are. These are what the experiences are when you undertake an art subject. You will experience these skills. So why we're knocking them, I don't know. And it really annoys me. Sorry, I'm going on a rant, Elle. I'm ranting on, but it really annoys me because it seems to me like the only place where art is highly regarded is on a wall or in a museum or a gallery. And the actual process is not significant, and that's what bugs me. That's what really upsets me. And again, it's the rich, it's the elite can own this, and they appreciate it. So why can't everyone else appreciate it? And it is a worry. I mean, many schools are doing this as an after-school curricula or an after-school thing. Well, actually, what we find is that young people, they engage more with school studies, more with learning when they are inspired, when they are undertaking creative experiences. So why are we removing them from the curriculum? It doesn't make sense to me, and this is why I keep on, ripping out my hair and screaming when people say things like that. Yeah, sorry, rant over. I'm gonna smile now.
So you touched a little bit on the school that you teach at Alperton and how it's sort of in a rundown city. There's a wide diversity of students. I read there's more than 80 languages spoken at Alperton. So what sort of challenges does this diversity create, even for you as teachers or even students and peers?
I mean, it's a fascinating question. What challenges does diversity create? Now, diversity, it should bring joy. It should bring, it's the time to celebrate difference, the time to celebrate new, I suppose. But in my community, it's what's outside the gates that's the problem. So outside the gates, in a very kind of multicultural, very highly dense, highly populated, low income area, you will find crime, you will find challenges. We have lots of students of ours who are the carers of their families, coming back from single parent families, who have got to make absolutely, devastating decisions every day. Sometimes just for our students to come into school is a miracle, and we praise that. So another challenge which diversity can have, and these types of communities, is language. So being able to communicate effectively, ensuring that you're not dumbing down the curriculum, that you have a challenging curriculum, that you try and kind of inspire, you try and engage, you try and build lots and lots and lots of confidence in your learners so that they can access everything on their own terms. So yeah, it's hard work, but it's, I don't think I would ever want it any other way. I don't think I can teach in a school that hasn't got these beautiful challenges, I'd say.
That's amazing. So, why do you think that many of these families come to live in Brent and live in this area? Why is this such a hot spot for multicultural families to move to?
I think it's because of people when they migrate from another country, and we do have first generations families who live with us. They like to go to places whereby there is an established community, and they like to go to places whereby there's religious buildings or places of worship which they can feel part of, and that's exactly what we have abundance of in our area. So I think just on the on our road where the school is, I think it's a 2 kilometer stretch. On that stretch, you have got 2 churches, you've got 1 gigantic temple and 3 mosques. So it's the hub. And people are worried of the different, they're quite worried about of moving outside their community. So yeah, that's why they all kind of accumulate together.
So now I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the book that you have recently written. And your book
Yeah.
is called Those Who Can Teach. So
Mhm.
give us a high level summary about what this book is all about.
I'm so proud of this book. When I first won the award, my inbox was inundated with messages of we'd love to hear your story, Andrew. And I just felt like, God, how, well, I'm not interesting. I'm not. What's so special about me? And I think through the last 2 years of winning the award and literally gallivanting and being aeroplanes the whole time and just going to different countries and doing keynotes and inspirational talks, I realized that the world of teaching is very different, and the world of teaching in an inner city London school is very different. And how we are, I say this as an educator, I think that our profession is not valued as highly as it should be. And so my book is a celebration um, of what it's really is like, the good, the bad, the ugly of teaching in an inner city school. It showcases the case studies through the eyes of my students. I talk about my students, the one who through the arts was able to access a degree course, even though he had so many different special educational labels and his family thought he couldn't. Through the arts, we managed to find out that students were self-harming through the arts, and also about tales of poverty, the challenges, the effects on social media on our young people. So it really is a celebration of what teachers deal with in an inner city school in the UK. But most importantly, which I'm very proud of, is based on my reflections growing up, and also the importance of the arts in education, how I feel that we need to protect the arts and keep the arts, because it is the arts which do make a huge difference in young people's lives.
Amazing. So, what was the most difficult part about writing this book?
I had um, in my life, I say that I've had three very difficult conversations that I've had to take. The first one was when I told my parents that I wanted to take art GCSE, and they were completely against it, obviously, because migrant parents, they want their teachers, that they want their children to be doctors or nurses. That's it, or accountants, solicitors, whatever. That was the first challenge. The second challenge is when I told my parents that I was gonna get married to somebody out of my own religion or out of my own culture. But the third part, which is in the prologue of the book, is when I actually stood up and turned down the government of the UK. So when I won the award, I was celebrated to the pinnacle from the government. They were just so proud of me, and they actually offered me a job to work and support and make and to promote the teaching as a profession, because we've got lots of teachers who are leaving the profession. So I was there to say, "Wow, it's amazing, join us." But all through this time, I'm a teacher of the arts, and all through this time, I've had to always fight for the arts in my school, and I always had to, I've just been exhausted by having to promote the arts and say, this is why we've got to secure the hours on our curriculum. And so I felt like if I was to say yes to this amazing job opportunity, that I would be the biggest hypocrite ever. And so the book starts with me turning down the government by saying no thank you, and the reason why I'm not going to take up this great opportunity is because you are killing the arts in education. So it's that 10% braver, woman power, whatever you want to call it, moment, which came out of nowhere, but absolutely had to happen, did happen, no regrets. Yeah, I think that's what defined me. I think absolutely. So it's all about, I think it's all about celebrating the little people sometimes. Yeah.
So, what do you hope to accomplish with this book and with even possibly your students reading this book, what do you hope that they can hear and learn from this?
I mean, Elle, the beautiful thing about life is that we meet so many people who inspire us and who teach us new things. And there's not one person who I've ever met who does not say to me that their teacher, Mr. So and so or Mrs. So and so, they're the person who changed their life because they said, I believe in you, or try and do it like this, or stop doing what you're doing, get back on track, you're worth more than that. And I think this book is about the voice of a teacher. And I've been really grateful that many of my colleagues and many teachers in the UK who have read my book have said, Andrea, this is my book too. I feel like you're speaking for me too, because this is the same challenges I have in my classroom, the same challenges I have in my school. These are my students who you're writing about, so I'm really, really proud of that. And the beauty about it is that it's not actually a book just for teachers, it's a book for anyone who just wants to reconnect with their childhood of going into school, but also a chance for all of us parents who have been homeschooling over the last year and a half to see what it really is like in an educational institution.
Wonderful. So, why do you think that teachers have fallen under this umbrella of being so underappreciated and unrecognized? And how do you think we can change that?
Well, I mean, that's why I think the Varkey Foundation, so that the organisation who gave me the award, um, the founder from the for the award, his parents were teachers, and I think he understood how important they are, and almost they're like guru-esque, I suppose, in India where they came from. And okay, I think it's a bit crazy and may not be realistic to give $1 million to every teacher, but I think I'm not sure, Elle. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know why teachers are not being valued. I do not understand it. I mean, at the end of the day, we are the ones inspiring young people. We are the ones who are planting the seed of imagination. We're keeping them safe many times when their own homes are not safe. We are keeping them safe. We're sometimes the nurses, we're the therapists, where we feed them, we clothe them. So I don't know why we are not respected, and it drives me crazy. And I don't think we ever, and it seems to me that we can never reach, we can never reach the peak. Whenever we succeed, the bar gets raised higher and it gets higher. So I don't feel there is much appreciation, which I think again is why it's so important to just take some time out to remember the people who inspire you, and just to kind of send a nice positive wish of remembrance or praise to that teacher who changed your life.
Now, you do so much for your students. How have you been able to stay motivated to create these relationships with students and their families for over 15 years? How have you remained so excited and motivated about your work?
That's a great question, but I just love my job. I love being in a school building. I feel at home when I'm in my school. It's such a natural environment to me, and working with young people, it inspires me. When you work with young people, they give you energy because they are very they've got energy themselves. You are important to them because you are the adult and they trust you. And sometimes we have that huge responsibility, and I'm really honored to have that. I really feel grateful that I do have that responsibility. I feel like I'm a good person to have that responsibility. So knowing that sometimes you are the person who your students want to see every day, that you are the right adult for them in their lives, that just is such an honor. And I've always said it's such a privilege working in education. It is the best job in the world.
That's great. So, you spend so much time with your students and after school activities and just being there for your students and their families. How do you make time for your own family and for yourself?
Oh, that's a really great question. My husband would say that I don't. And he's probably right. I don't think I've got the work-life balance else sorted. If I'm to be completely frank with you, I'm the worst person to say, when does it stop? When does it start? But I'll be the first person to say, please make sure it stops, and starts at a specific time. I mean, I'm lucky that I've got a fantastic network around me that supports me. So I've got the extended family with the mum and my dad are across the road. So my kids have grown up between two households, which is beautiful for them. And no, it's I just make it work because I don't see it as a job. I just see it as something that I love doing. When you love doing something, it just happens naturally, and you just make it work.
Wonderful. So I want to close it out with a fun fact about you that I do with all of my guests. So my question for you is, what is your most memorable moment as a teacher? And it can be any specific story, anything that you've accomplished.
Oh, okay. I've got it. I've got it. I've got it. I've got it. I've got it.
Let's
I've got
hear
it.
it.
Okay, and I write about this child in my book. His name is Alex. Okay, so Alex is a student who has got every single um, behavioral problem you can think about, and many different types of special educational needs labels. So he is dyslexic, plus he has got ADHD. He's got emotional problem, and he's a child that when you have a look at your register, your roll call for your class as a teacher, you're like, oh my god. And then you are normally comforted in the staff room and go, oh, there, don't worry, we'll get you through this year. So he's that child. Anyway, so I had him in my year 8 group, which they're 12-year-olds, and we were doing at that time we're doing portraits on Picasso. Now Alex would spend, I'd say, about the majority of the lesson outside the classroom having a timeout. Normally this is, you just find him in the corridors walking up and down because he's having timeouts the whole time. But at the beginning of the lesson, the students were halfway through a project whereby they were designing their own cubist portraits. And at the beginning of the class, I always do a quick kind of critique. And I said, right, who's this work? Okay, so what do we need to do? What do we need to add? What do we think about the colour, background? Da, 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 da. And then the students always add their comments and whatever. So I picked up this piece of work. I was like, right, okay, so what needs to happen here? And then students were saying, oh, miss, I really like the colour. Or, miss, look at the way they really mixed the paintbrush and they really made the paint nice and thick. Miss, look how brilliant he did the background. Miss, look how good the outline is. Like, actually, a really great, yeah, fantastic comment. So whose work is this? Why do you not put your name on your work? Anyway, whose work is this? And at the back of the class, little Alex's hand just kind of raised up like this. And the reason why this is the most important story that I have is the moment of that I felt, and this feeling that I felt at that time, because what happened then, every single student turned around and they saw Alex and his hand up and they saw my mouth drop, and then they just cheered. The whole class cheered. It was like they've just won the Super Bowl or something. They cheered, and I was trying to hold back the tears because I thought, oh my God, he's got it. He's been celebrated. His peers think that he's done brilliantly well, and that was it for him. He was proud. He got on with his work, and things improved for him. And that kind of warm, fuzzy feeling that I had, that just remained for months afterwards. Months. Now, Alex is not cured. He's still sometimes, tough. But yeah, just experiencing the fact that, kids are just so beautiful. They're so tolerant of each other. And they just, they knew that moment of praise made his year, his century, whatever. So yeah, that for me was my best teaching day I've had so far.
That story brought tear to my eyes, and I don't know how you don't cry every day in your position. I would just be waterworks.
Well, I do. Sometimes joy, sometimes you want to rip out your hair, but yeah.
So good. So tell us where we can find you on social media. Where can we follow what you're doing and see what you're doing with your book and what you're speaking on?
Yeah, so my my to contact me, I've got my own website, so it's andreazafirakou.com. My Twitter handle is at Andria Zaf, and that's Andria ANDRIAZAF Foxtrot. And I teach at Alperton, but I'm also running my organisation and my book. If fingers crossed, guys, you can get your hands on it. It will really awaken something inside of you. It's published by Bloomsbury and it's called Those Who Can Teach.
Awesome. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for sharing all of your wonderful stories. And any teachers out there or students or anyone wanting to learn about, the challenges that teachers face, please go out and purchase Andrea's book, Those Who Can Teach. I think everyone can benefit from this story. So, Andrea, thank you so much for everything. It was a pleasure speaking with you today.
No, it's my pleasure, Elle. Thank you so much.